The Pride Lands had always depended on courage, strength, and the roar of its king to maintain balance. But on the day the ground shook and shadows spread across the savannah, courage alone could not protect the circle of life. The threat was unlike any they had faced before. Not a single enemy, but a series of dangers that struck from multiple directions at once, testing every skill the Lion Guard possessed. Whispers of fear reached Pride Rock before the attackers ever did. Kion felt the tension ripple through the land, a pressure heavier than any battle he had known. The Lion Guard gathered, instinctively ready to fight, yet uneasy. Fuli's sharp eyes scanned the horizon, catching movements too fast for the untrained to notice. Besht's massive frame radiated strength, but even he sensed the fragility beneath the chaos. Ono circled above, wings slicing the air, trying to decipher patterns in the confusion. Bunga, always bold, gripped the ground with fierce determination. Yet, even his usual bravado felt challenged by the scale of what was coming. Kion looked at them, realizing that even with their skills, the Pride Lands could not survive by individual heroics alone. The first confrontation confirmed his fear. A band of rogue lions had moved into a vulnerable part of the territory, while hyenas pressed from the east. Cutting off retreat, and smaller predators disrupted the supply of water and food. The Lion Guard reacted immediately, each member relying on their own strength to address threats. But isolated action only led to more chaos. Fuli raced to intercept the hyenas, only to discover that the rogue lions had cornered prey elsewhere. Besht tried to hold a crucial waterhole, but the hyenas had already diverted the flow. Ono attempted to warn Kion of another incoming threat. Yet the speed of the attacks left him unable to communicate clearly. Bunga, acting without coordination, risked being trapped alone. Then he understood that power and speed, strength and courage, while formidable, were insufficient without a single binding force. Teamwork. Alone, even heroes falter. Together, they could become unstoppable. He signaled for retreat, not to flee, but to regroup, to create a plan that utilized every skill in perfect harmony. Each of us is strong, but together, we are unstoppable. 4. We will divide the land into zones, coordinate every move, and trust one another completely. Fuli nodded, her speed ready to serve not her ego, but the team. Bunga smiled fiercely. Flino, understanding that heroism meant shared risk, not solitary glory. The plan was set. Besht would fortify defenses and protect crucial locations. Ono would observe and guide movements from the air, spotting dangers unseen from the ground. For the first time, the Lion Guard operated not as individual heroes, but as a single, cohesive force. Ono's aerial guidance ensured they were not caught off guard, and Bunga covered vulnerable points with strategic timing rather than impulsive charges. Kion orchestrated it like a conductor guiding an orchestra. Each move perfectly timed, each action supporting the next. The rogue lions attacked, expecting chaos to give them victory, but what they found was precision. Ono warned of approaching hyenas before they arrived. Bunga intervened at the exact moment a predator tried to slip through a gap. Strength alone would have faltered, but teamwork turned the battle into a seamless defense. By the end of the first confrontation, the Pride Lands had survived without a single casualty, not because they were stronger than the enemy, but because they had trusted one another completely. The lesson was clear. Individual talent can inspire, but coordinated effort saves lives. Kion realized that leadership was not measured by who could roar the loudest or run the fastest, but by the ability to unite unique skills toward a common goal. The next challenge tested them further. A sudden drought forced the animals to travel to new watering holes, while competing predators seized every opportunity to assert dominance. Without unity, conflict was inevitable, but the Lion Guard anticipated every move. fully guided herds safely. Best carried water containers to those in need. Ono monitored all movements from above, and Bunga redirected threats, sometimes risking himself to protect others. Kion moved through the chaos, ensuring no zone was isolated, no act of bravery wasted. The guard faced moments of failure, brief missteps where miscommunication almost led to disaster. But unlike before, they learned and adapted instantly. Fully adjusted her scouting routes, Best shifted his defensive positions, Ono altered flight patterns, and Bunga refined his timing. Kion emphasized reflection in action, reminding them that teamwork grows stronger not by avoiding mistakes, but by correcting them together. As days passed, the Pride Lands began to see the impact of coordinated effort. Conflicts diminished, water and food resources stabilized, and animals regained trust in the circle of life. The Lion Guard no longer fought simply to repel threats. They guided, educated, and united the land itself. Young cubs watched in awe, learning that heroism was not about solitary deeds, but shared responsibility. The final test arrived when the enemy, a coalition of rogue lions and opportunistic predators, attempted a simultaneous assault on multiple fronts. Believing that even the United Guard could be overwhelmed, they underestimated the power of synergy. Kion signaled the Guard, and each member moved with flawless precision. The enemy's strength was formidable, but every move was countered by coordinated action. Fuli's speed allowed instant response to every breach. Beshed's power blocked critical paths. Ono's vision directed reinforcements exactly where needed, and Bunga's courage inspired those around him to act without fear. Kion's leadership ensured the Guard operated as one body, one mind, one unstoppable force. By the end of the battle, the enemy was routed, not defeated by brute force alone, but by the collective intelligence, trust, and unity of the Lion Guard. The Pride Lands were safe, but more importantly, the animals had learned a crucial truth. Heroes are not defined by strength, speed, or courage alone. They are defined by the ability to work together, to trust one another, and to combine their unique gifts for a shared purpose. That night, as the stars illuminated Pride Rock, Kion looked at his team with pride unlike any before. Each member bore marks of battle, each carried lessons learned, and each had grown not just as a warrior, but as a guardian. The Lion Guard had proven that when skills are shared, when courage is coordinated, and when trust is absolute, ordinary lions become true heroes. The Pride Lands slept in peace, not because the threats were gone, but because the unity of the Guard ensured no danger could succeed while they stood together. And in that moment, Kion understood the ultimate lesson of leadership. It is not the might of one, but the harmony of many that defines true heroes. The calm after victory never lasts long in the Pride Lands, and Kion felt it before anyone else. The wind carried a warning, low and uneasy, as if the land itself was holding its breath. Just when the animals began to believe peace had returned for good, a new threat emerged, one far more dangerous than any enemy they had faced before. This time, it wasn't claws or teeth that threatened the circle of life. It was division. Whispers spread among the herds, doubts planted by unseen voices, turning neighbors against one another. Strength could not fight mistrust, and speed could not outrun fear. Kion understood instantly. This battle would decide what kind of heroes the Lion Guard truly were. The signs appeared subtly at first. Grazers refused to share territory. Birds stopped carrying messages between regions, and predators ignored long-held agreements. The Pride Lands were fracturing from within. The enemy remained hidden, watching as unity weakened itself. Fully noticed patrol routes failing as animals stopped cooperating. Besht saw frightened families turning away from help. Ono observed patterns of avoidance, not attack, and realized something far more dangerous was unfolding. Even Bunga, fearless as ever, sensed that charging forward would only make things worse. Kion called the Guard together, not to plan a battle, but to confront a truth that was harder than any fight. "We can't force unity," he said quietly. "We have to rebuild it." The realization was heavy. They had trained for combat, for defense, for action, but restoring trust required patience, empathy, and restraint. This was a test, not of power, but of character. Their mission shifted overnight. Instead of fighting enemies, they listened. Fully raced not to intercept threats, but to deliver reassurance. Vesht stayed with frightened animals, offering protection through presence rather than force. Ono became the eyes of understanding, identifying where fear began and how it spread. Vanga used his courage to stand beside those who felt alone, proving that bravery could be gentle. Kion guided them all, reminding the guard that leadership meant serving the needs of others, even when recognition was absent. The unseen enemy revealed itself slowly, a cunning manipulator who thrived on chaos, feeding on resentment and old wounds. Rather than attack directly, this foe exploited differences, convincing animals that survival meant isolation. When the truth finally surfaced, the guard faced a choice: confront the enemy with force and risk deepening the divide, or stand together and expose the lie through unity. Kion chose unity. The final confrontation was unlike any battle before. No roars of dominance echoed across the plains. Instead, the Lion Guard stood shoulder to shoulder with the annals of the Pride Lands. When the manipulator attempted to sow fear, it failed, because fear found no fertile ground in a united heart. One by one, the lies unraveled as animals defended one another, sharing resources, protecting the weak, and refusing to turn away. The enemy's power faded, starved of division. In that moment, the Pride Lands remembered who they were. Not a land ruled by the strongest, but sustained by cooperation. The Lion Guard didn't win through combat, they won by inspiring others to believe in each other again. And that victory echoed louder than any roar. As dawn broke, Kion looked across the land, seeing not warriors celebrating, but families reunited, alliances restored, and hope reborn. He realized then that true heroes are not those who stand above others, but those who stand beside them. Strength may win battles, but teamwork shapes the future. The Lion Guard walked back to Pride Rock together, not as legends forged by power, but as symbols of unity. Their story would be remembered not for the enemies they defeated, but for the hearts they brought together. And in the Pride Lands, where every life is connected, that lesson became the greatest legacy of all.